foremost, you might be asking, who are you? We've never heard of In Pursuit, and you probably haven't heard my name, and that's okay. My role in this world is to be an amplifier. And here's a little bit about what that looks like. So I've spent about 20 years of my career traveling around the world learning about human connection. So I've been to 44 countries, mostly doing philanthropy work, and really understanding what human communication and human connection is like. And now I use that to help people have an impact, using storytelling to have an impact. And that is true for both feature films, connecting with your audience, and also other types of writing and literature. So these are the ways that I help amplify stories. I work with writers on their writer's block and what we call writer's ADHD, which is the shiny object syndrome. Deepening your connection with the audience through the connectivity neurology that happens, and character development, and also working with organizations to use storytelling to make an impact, whether that be visual or written. So I have a method. It's called the 3E method. These are the 3 steps: excavate your attic, eliminate your obligations, and embolden your resolve. And this is the 3E method that I use throughout with all of my clients, either individual or organizationally. So we're going to jump right in. When you sit down and you want to make your first feature, you want to make a piece of art that is touching, you have to know why. Why tell that story? What is it in you that is drawing you? Because if the answer is rich and famous, cool, love it. Dig deeper. Go into why this matters. Why does this story matter? Why are you the person to tell it? Even if the story is fanciful and fantasy and fictional, it still has a why into your soul. So start there. Start with your own why. The next thing in this excavate your attic, you're digging up there in your brain, right? You've got the boxes out, you're blowing off the dust. What does your audience want? What do you want to convey? How do you want to make them feel? What do you want them to walk out with, right? Start with those elements, and it will deepen your connection with them right away. There is 4 main, this is the neurology part, this is my sciencey nerd part. There's 4 main ways we connect with audiences, right? You have oxytocin and serotonin, which are your character. Those are the hormones that need to release in an audience's brain in order to connect with the characters. You have to feel like you're a part of the story, that you understand that character, that it's deepening. And then we have the afterglow, the dopamine and the endorphins. This sends them out of the theater or turns off the streaming and says, I'm going to tell other people about this. This story ignited something in me. I've got to tell other people about this great filmmaker, about this great film. So the key to any story, whether it be written or visual, is to have all of these firing in people's brains. That's what you're getting at with the perfect feature film. These are the 3 characteristics that research says is the most connecting we can do. People look for relatability. Even a fictional character, you find something in them that's relatable to you, and that's how you attach. You don't do this consciously necessarily, but subconsciously, we are looking to connect with characters that feel relatable to us in some way. Aspirational. They're doing something that you wish you could do. It doesn't matter if it's Barbie or Indiana Jones. If you're looking for adventure in your own life, it's not going to be the same story if it's fiction, but certainly you're looking for something aspirational that fires up your insides. And of course, emotionality. If you leave a theater completely flat in your emotions, you haven't gotten excited or scared or teary-eyed or whatever, you're not walking out with a rave review about the film, right? You're just not. We have to have emotional connection to our characters and to the stories that we tell. The next stage in the 3E is to embolden your resolve. So Ruth Turrell tells this wonderful story about creativity, and she relays creativity as a tiger. And you have 3 choices if a tiger is running at you. You can jump on its back and take the ride. That is the most proactive, amazing way to embrace your creativity. Or you could hesitate, decide you still want the ride, grab the tail, and it's a bumpy ride, but you'll still go. The third thing you do with creativity is you decide it's not the right time or it's too scary, and you step aside and the tiger runs past you and it's gone forever. So one of the things about eliminating your obligations is understanding your connection to your own creative process, right? Your creative tiger, and honoring that in whatever way that looks like for you. So we all do some sort of training. You might have formal training, you might have informal training. You're sitting in this workshop hoping to gain something to move forward and to advance your feature film creation. The most important thing we can do, though, is remember that we are individuals. So your creative process is going to look different than everyone else's creative process. So take what serves you and let the rest go. Some friends of mine have a great author friend who talks about it, carrying a backpack through life. And this was a story from her time as a waitress, and she would carry this backpack, and it would be full of all kind of things that she didn't need, but she didn't examine that backpack enough. And often enough to remember that, hey, sometimes we need to shed those items. So as you learn, as you grow, as you learn to craft your own stories, and you're getting ready for your first feature film, and you're getting ready for the ideation, the storytelling, remember that what you've learned is fabulous, but only keep what serves you and let the rest go. This lovely trailer, her name is the Rosie. So when I went to write my first full-length book, I could not get started. It was a couple of years of starts and stops and starts and stops. I just couldn't seem to get it going. And finally I figured out I needed to immerse myself. So I drove to Taos, New Mexico. I stayed in this lovely trailer, which served 40 years with the Ringling Brothers Circus, and then was decommissioned and refurbished that you can stay at in Taos. And it has 1 bar of service, so nearly off the grid. And I just immersed myself for a week, and I wrote, and I wrote, and I wrote. And then when I went back to my regular life, to my regular routines, it suddenly started to click. But I had to figure out for myself that I had to push that boulder down the hill. I had to get it started by doing something. Now that's my process. Just the important thing to know in kind of this stage of thinking about your first feature, thinking about your process, is knowing what your process is. Try stuff out. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but figure out what works for you and what can move the process forward. And then finally, embolden your resolve. So there used to be a sticky note on my desk that said, real artists ship, right? Not real artists paint, not real artists sculpt, but real artists ship. And it's this reminder that we have to get the project finished and out the door, right? And that's the most important part. There are thousands of creatives who are not being shown on big screens or on streaming platforms because they just never finished their project, right? So this is my 3 tips to be aware of that can hang you up from emboldening your resolve to get to the end of the project. Being ill-informed, having a shallow depth, or following shiny objects. The difference between the right word and almost the right word is the difference between lightning and lightning bug. So this is a note about being ill-informed. If you want to really create a connection with an audience, really create a story that is going to get the attention of industry folks, of audiences, of agents, of all the things, you have to be knee-deep in it. And sometimes that means you look to sources that you don't expect. One of the reasons I wanted to present at this conference was that my specialty has not always been in film, but I was told once by a mentor that the most beautiful tapestry of life you can build is bringing together experts, not just in the sole focus of your expertise, but across a broad set of expertise, and weave them together into a beautiful tapestry of different ideas and different ideations. And so getting knee-deep may mean that you, of course, read other screenplays, watch movies. It may also mean you read books in the genre. Maybe it means you pick up a newspaper from a country that you plan to film your film in and just see what's happening in the news that day. Maybe it means you follow some interesting folks online that are influencers in that country just to get a feel for the culture, for the elements. These are the things that global philanthropy has taught me, how to figure out how to embed yourself in a community and understand the communication patterns, even if you don't speak the language. There are things that are universal about communicating and about audience connection. So don't be afraid to get knee-deep in the mud in your project and really build the depth. You want to know what you want to inform your audience and what you want to inspire them. Maybe the inspiration is just to walk out of the theater and tell 10 people about it, right? It doesn't have to be a documentary and a social change, but you're going to inspire them to do something. You're going to inform them of something. Maybe it's a new innovative way that you build in action into your action film. In some way, you need to know and you need to want to inspire action and inform your audience. All right, the second thing is about depth. So I'm going to do a little audience participation. Someone yell out a profession for me. Coach? I heard coach first. I heard something else, but I heard coach first. All right, coach. Yell out a gender, male or female? Female coach. Okay. So there are 3 levels of depth in any storyline, right? And there are reasons to use all of it, although we kind of normally want to settle on 2, right? So level 1. She walks up to the door, opens it, throws her bag down. You see it's an athletic bag. Walks over to the fridge, looks around, kind of dismayed. Opens up the freezer, grabs a pint of ice cream, a spoon, slides down the front of the fridge and starts eating it. That's level 1. We've learned a little bit about her. We don't know much. We can infer from her bag that she either came from the gym or she's a coach. You don't really know yet. You move the audience from point A to point B. And there's a time to do that, right? But you also leave a lot of lacking, right? We're not really we're not really connecting with her necessarily. We've just moved the audience from one step to another. So level 2. Walks in the door. There's an inner monologue going on. She drops her bag. She says, she thinks in her head about the team, about the practice. They're just not getting it. Maybe it's my coaching. I don't know. Walks over, looks at the dingy apartment. Gosh, I remember when I had a backyard. I could really use a backyard today. Walks over to the fridge, looks in. God, I really should have gone grocery shopping. Ugh. I'll just eat ice cream. Digs for a spoon out of the ice cream, slides down the fridge. Now we've connected something, right? Now we have an emotion. You know that she's dismayed. You can feel through that, whether it's inner dialogue or not, or maybe something playing on the TV, maybe she says something out loud to herself. You can feel the difference, right? You can feel that now you're curious. What's going on with her? What's happening? Why is she dismayed? You're feeling that emotional connection. And in level 3, you go one step deeper. You might have her fidget with her keys for a while. You might have her get frustrated, have another moment. You might have her pick up a phone call and say something else and have more. These are the levels. And one of the things that can leave a movie flat is to not know where to place your level, right? So as you're thinking about your storyline, where do you need to dive deeper? Where do you need to bring it up and just move the audience quicker because you've belabored that point a little bit? Knowing your levels is a key way, can be a real stumbling block for getting stuck in your ideation and in your I was going to say manuscript, but in your script. And finally, shiny object syndrome. I am the worst at this. I have 3 screenplays, 5 books, and 2 documentaries in the docket right now. And none of them will get done if I don't make some priorities, right? Shiny objects are everywhere, and it's so easy to fall into, especially when you have a lot of great creative ideas, or you get partnerships, or you have people reaching out to you. It's so amazing. But in order to build your real resolve, to get to the end, to be the artist who ships, you have to focus, finish, and move the ball forward. So these are your 3 steps. These are your 3 tips from me. Excavate your attic, eliminate your obligations, and embolden your resolve. This is the 3E method that I help writers, screenwriters, and filmmakers move their projects forward. This is me. I have a book and a publishing house as well. If you're interested in talking to me afterwards, I can talk about those. But really, really appreciate your time. Thank you guys for letting me talk a little bit about writing today.